Hello everyone, this is Nickredace coming with a brand new video. This time we're going to be talking about the failed archetype, or at least failed in my opinion, Mayakashis. Now Mayakashis are a zombie archetype based around a ladder of synchros. Using this card, Winged Mayakashi, and Daki, the Graceful Mayakashi, summon up the ladder because Graceful is special summoned from the graveyard every time that you use her for an extra deck summon. You can only special summon monsters, Mayakashi monsters from your deck when you use that effect. And you move all the way up from the Wheeled Mayakashi to the Skeletal Mayakashi. Main drawback to the deck, in my opinion, is the fact that none of the Mayakashis, when they're summoned, have any effect. They only activate their effects when they die. Or should I say, when they're special summoned. So, you get up to Skeletal Mayakashi. He's a decent beater, but nowadays it doesn't matter, and you can get far higher attack points. He's destroyed. You now activate their effect, which all Mayakashis have, which is banish a zombie monster, and then special summon the Mayakashi before it on the ladder. That would be Graceful Mayakashi. All the Mayakashis have this effect until you get the Wheeled Mayakashi, and the Wheeled Mayakashi's effects gives it the ability to not be destroyed by battle, special summon from the graveyard. So the effects for all these Mayakashi are as followed. Skeletal, unaffected by card effects. Graceful, destroy one monster. Winged, destroy spell, trap. Poisonous, discard 3 cards from the top of your deck and your opponent's deck. And of course, cannot be destroyed by battle. So overall, those aren't terrible, but the fact that you have to banish a monster to activate that effect, and the fact that the effects aren't explosive enough to make a difference, kind of lowers the appeal in combat. Also, another drawback is the fact that if they're, returned to your deck, banished, then it just stops it right then and there. Or if you're fighting anything that says they cannot activate effects in the graveyard, just destroys the ladder. Now, if we go into some of their spell traps, they have Mayakashi Mayhem, which is a decent card based around it. It's one of the few cards that I would say are useful to the zombie archetype. And its ability is, when a zombie synchro monster is special summoned except from the extra deck, you can activate one of these effects. And the 4 effects are: draw a card, set a Mayakashi spell or trap from your deck, except himself, destroy the monster your opponent controls with the lowest attack, and inflict 800 damage. Overall, those aren't too bad. You can apply all these effects, so if you were to summon multiple times in a turn, you could activate this effect multiple times, but only one of each of those effects. Overall, it's a pretty decent card. Most of the Mayakashis kind of have lackluster effects, but the main issue is just that their effects are only for Mayakashis. Mayakashi Winter, your opponent loses 100 attack defense for each Mayakashi monster with a different name in your graveyard. I mean, that's 500, but I mean, what, you can get these cards too? That's maybe 1,000. Also, damage reduction is really not too good overall. I mean, this card is pretty decent, Mayakashi Metamorphosis, because it allows you to discard a card, target one of your Mayakashi monsters that's banished or in the graveyard, and special summon it. That's pretty good. But again, there's plenty of other cards that do it without that distinction. But since it's a trap card, even Call of the Haunted would be slightly better because you don't have to discard a card. Unless you need to discard a card, in which, okay. Another Mayakashi destroyed, you can special summon from the graveyard. Well, that's not too bad. Except for the fact that you already have Daki, so you would have already done that. So, if I was to go over the real good cards of the deck, it would be Mayakashi Mayhem, because it's a generic zombie. That's pretty decent. And this card, Yuki Onna, the Absolute Zero Mayakashi. It's a Link summon. I kind of dislike Link monsters overall, but this one's not too bad. Negate the effects of any of your opponent's banished monsters. The main one is, if a monster is special summoned from the graveyard, or a monster effect is activated in the graveyard, which in zombie decks can happen one after another, you can target one other face-up monster on the field, change its attack to 0, and then negate its effects. So if anyone remembers Cubic Spawn, Cubic Spawn's ability was, if your opponent runs into it, or it runs into an opponent's monster, you put a Cubic counter, and the Cubic counter reduces its attack to 0, and then negates all its effects. This does this for zombie. It's one of the few cards I'm actually going to be keeping in my zombie decks out of the Mayakashi archetype. To me, the only way you could really salvage the Mayakashi archetype would be to somehow give these cards a bigger effect, or maybe some sort of effect while they're on the field and not just relying on when they're special summoned from the graveyard, or remove some of the restrictions on their summon. So maybe instead of, also by the way, all these Mayakashis, you can only have one of them on the field at a time. I don't know why they have all these restrictions. If you would remove the banishing and just have it where they can just summon each other, that'd be pretty decent. So that you could constantly go down and up the ladder, not have to worry about burning through a ton of resources to do so. Because again, the effects aren't, oh my god, I'm gonna lose. The effects are, Oh, you destroyed one of my spells. Oh, you destroyed one monster. And the thing is, this isn't like something that they're not going to expect, because they know, hey, if I destroy this, you're going to summon that and activate that effect. There's no mind games with this deck. It's purely reactionary by your opponent, unless you somehow destroy your own monsters. At that point, you'd be burning so many resources, it wouldn't be worth it. So either remove the banish clause, or give them better effects, really. Or you get rid of the effect where they have to be special summoned from the graveyard. Now, imagine if, when they're summoned, they automatically activate their effect. That wouldn't be too bad. They might be like, but Nick, that means going up the ladder, one turn, you do so much to your opponent. But due to the fact that you can only have one of each, you can't do that again. Your opponent now has to choose, should I destroy the big bad monster and maybe have them do all that stuff to me again, or should I just find a way to deal with it, you know? But again, the fact that you can just banish or return to deck counteracts that threat anyway. Overall, Mayakashi are just lackluster. They're not bad, I should say, they're not horrible. They are pretty bad. But they had a really interesting design philosophy. They're fast, but it's like getting hit with a whole bunch of spitballs. You know, it's like, oh, okay. You don't have any punch in any of your abilities. And there's no real reason for me to go into Skeletal Mayakashi when, in just as fast of a combo, using Solitaire and Uni Zombie, I can go into Beals. You know, let's compare them. Let's compare some of these to mine. So, Skeletal Mayakashi, the only thing he has going for him is that he's unaffected by card effects for a single turn if he's special from the graveyard, and he has 3300 attack. Okay, Beals. Can't be destroyed with battle or card effects. If you take damage from attacks or by card effects, you gain attack equal to the damage you took. I'm gonna go with this one every time. Let's see. Destroy one monster in the field. Let's choose our pick. We got Draco Berserker of Tenny. When your opponent activates an effect, you can banish it. Which, by the way, there's a hard counter to the Mayakashis. I'm going to activate this card's effect. I'm going to banish it. Your ladder is gone, and that's it. Also, this card has the added effect where if he destroys an effect monster instead of the graveyard, he gains attack equal to destroy monster attack and can now make a second attack. But there's no contest. And again, he's just as easy to get out as these guys. Oh look, it requires one card. But this one just requires Solitaire. I can go into the weakest card in this list, which would have to be Red-Eyed Zombie Necro Dragon. Gains 100 attack defense for each zombie monster in the field and in the graveyard. And when another zombie monster is destroyed by battle, special summon one zombie monster for either graveyard to your field. That card is far better than anything here. Now you might be like, well, wait, can't you just use that to special summon from the graveyard? I can, but the deck doesn't really support it. And if you're wondering, what do you mean? Well, let's look up. We have 3, 5, 7, 9. See the issue here? You're missing that 8, which he's a part of. Could you eventually add him into it? Probably, but when I have to start adding cards like that just to get the engine to work a little, you know, I did try, because I did add Trinity Skill Saga Supremacy. Now, this card's effect is during your opponent's turn, you can target one of your banished zombie synchro monsters and special summon to the zone it points to, pretty much directly below it. When she's on the field, once per turn, during your opponent's turn, I can special summon one of these guys. But that's a large combo I gotta go into to make these cards decent. And that's a lot of my extra deck that's being used up. That's 5 cards. There's a lot of cards that could be filled with anything else. Overall, it's probably not worth it having it in your zombie deck. Unless you're going for a full Mayakashi build, in which, good luck. I'm sure you can make it work, but I can't see it. I can't see it. Maybe I'm not just able to see its full potential, because I'm also seeing through the lens of, you know, my Revenant deck, how can I use it in that, but just, it doesn't just fit together. Anywho, thank you all for watching. This is Nickredace, and I'll see you all in the next video. Nickredace, out.